Welcome to RegTech Live with Clause Match. The aim of these sessions is to provide you with a 10-minute live discussion around technology and compliance, speaking with leading industry experts every Thursday lunchtime. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Sarah Sinclair, one of the co-founders of ChangeGap. Sarah, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. Would you mind giving yourself a quick introduction and a bit about your business, ChangeGap?
Thank you, Freddie. I'm really excited to share this with you. I think it's a really good platform you've got here for exploring these issues and the things going on, and it's really relevant to the business that we're setting up in ChangeGap. So, after 25 years, I think it is, of contracting, going into various organisations, responding to gaps, one organisation at a time. It became quite apparent that the gaps were actually getting bigger rather than smaller. And that's not because people were getting their jobs, it's just a huge influx of innovation, digitization, artificial intelligence, and financial crises, and so on. And it feels that the more of this disruption going on and the more external influences, the harder it is for people to grab hold of that and really steer a clear path through and get traction. And it's very frustrating for the leaders of these financial services firms, spending money year after year and seemingly getting not value for money. So ChangeGap was an idea that we came up with, myself and my co-founder, and it's literally providing consulting services and technology solutions, linking together different solutions in the financial and regulatory space to try and make an impact.
Great. That's great to hear that you've put together a business to solve key challenges around change and transformation projects, but this is definitely a topic that a lot of people talk about, but it's refreshing to hear that you're bringing people together to actually solve the problem. I want to start the discussion by exploring what are those different types of gaps from your experience working at lots of financial institutions, and if we can just start with maybe what the key gaps are and maybe some examples.
Yeah, so we could probably spend a day or a week even talking about the gaps, but let's just focus on a few. So, I mean, it's well stated and reported that 70% of change programs fail, and apparently that statistic has been there since the 1970s. There's all sorts of reasons why they fail or don't deliver the value that they're promised to. There's other gaps like in compliance. I don't want to quote your quotes, but I think I saw this statistic that there's £1 trillion worth of unlocked value because of the lack of automation solutions, and the fact that means that people are doing manual processes over and over again. So large compliance departments. There's a field within regulatory data and reporting where McKinsey did a study last year, and they estimated that between £2 and £4 billion was spent each year in the UK just on data and reporting for regulatory purposes, and that's just a fraction of the RegTech space. And having been in situations in a number of different firms where they've had this specific problem, I've seen the numbers and I've rescued a few. I've helped with others, and I can definitely see, why it is that amount of money, and equally why it doesn't have to be that much by a large factor. There's another statistic. I think Deloitte did a report a few years back saying that was it 55 billion euros are spent in European banks in technology, and frighteningly 85% of that was just bolting on systems to legacy infrastructure, so not really doing groundbreaking stuff. It's just keeping the lights on. And again, it doesn't need to be that way, but we need to find a way of breaking out of these cycles. in terms of change gap as a business, I mean, we thought, well, really, does the world need another consultancy or another vendor? But again, we feel convinced that there is the gap, because there's lots of consultancy, there's lots of technology companies, but there are very few groups of people that truly understand both and how to bridge the gap and join the dots, if you like. So yeah, that's probably a high level view of the gap.
Brilliant. And one thing resonated with me there is on all annual reports, there's so much priority placed around transformation and change. And then if you really looked at the devil in the detail of that money that's spent on the change, what actual value is created? So, I mean, with the current situation we're in, do you see the current pandemic being an opportunity or a challenge for helping solve these problems you've just discussed?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, to some extent, it depends what type of person or organisation you are. Some will be head in hands. Oh my goodness, and operational resilience is a watchword that was already really high on the agenda with regulators and in financial services firms. And then COVID hit, and it turned it from a sort of exam question into, oh, okay, this is really, really real. But it is an opportunity as well, because there's nothing like a crisis to force action and to sort of, stop people arguing about whether it's really important or an issue or not. So it's definitely an opportunity. I think in terms of going forward, I think people find it generally hard to deal with change and uncertainty, ambiguity, volatility, all of that stuff. And really, COVID is I say just another crisis. I don't mean that lightly, because obviously it's really horrendous. But if you think about the financial crisis in 2008-9, we probably haven't totally recovered from that or learnt the lessons. So now we've got COVID, there's climate change, there's sustainability, there's going to be other crises coming through. So I think the biggest opportunity is actually to learn how to put things in place to help us on a more steady basis, and not just all be reactionary, but to proactively and consistently improve our systems and processes and people, our capabilities to deal with change.
And so, what are those sort of processes and steps that can be initially put in place to get the ball rolling around helping solve these challenges?
Yeah. Okay. So again, another huge topic, which you could take out on its own. But I think if we think about where financial services is going at the moment, and this battle, if you like, between the fintechs and digital and more incumbent firms, insurers, banks, and asset managers. Lots of people are trying to bet on who's going to win, or how the world is going to look in 5, 10, 15 years time. So I think actually the answer is not so much one or the other. It's going to be a blend, because digital is definitely good. It is more suited to the way you're living, and it has the opportunity to create a fairer financial services systems for individual consumers, and also small and medium-sized enterprises in particular. And a key part of making that happen without sort of doing away with banks or doing away with digital banks is actually considering what that future might look like. So open banking, open platforms, data sharing, something a bit more of an ecosystem. And a lot of people are talking about this. So I think it's about collaborating with other people in this space, understanding what might that future look like and how do we work together to get there.
I mean, this all resonates with me greatly. I mean, some of the key takeaways from the discussion we've just had so far is that people by nature are hugely competitive. All the communication is around who's going to win? Fintechs, challengers, big institutions. And that's because people are stuck in their own siloed ways, which ultimately causes friction in how organizations, groups, people collaborate on implementing what they want to achieve, which is change. And I mean, I purposely summarized just that holistically because, the lessons that can be learned from this aren't just on solving change in this topic, but just how change can be brought around for all of these current challenges that we're facing in the world. That being said, you touched on some really nice points at the end there. Leveraging on open platforms, connecting people who are best in class at their individual specialization and forming a strong ecosystem between them all is definitely the future best way of doing things. I mean, before we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been thinking about this specifically in terms of our business because we want to make sure that we are really relevant and can have a big impact that doesn't repeat what someone else is doing, but equally, helps make a difference. And the problem solving, resilience, and the culture themes that I put in the title of this, they are the three things for me, because for the ecosystem to work, we need partnership, we need to work together, and there are big cultural issues across the industry, not just this industry, probably. The Bank of England are doing a great initiative. It's a 5 to 10 year initiative all around this, and mention culture and problem solving, how we can work together. It can't be one company or one firm or one regulator. This literally has to be global and interconnected, and that's the world we live in. So the more we embrace that and work together in partnership, we will be more resilient and we will learn to solve problems together. It sounds sort of a bit fluffy and sort of ivory tower, but I really think that more people are thinking this and doing things like this and having other forms and work parties work together.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I actually, would challenge you. It's not ivory tower. It's around distributing responsibility amongst people that are good at what they do, rather than relying on just one significant organisation to make change. So completely agree with everything you've said, and enjoyed the conversation. Also, for everyone listening in, we'll be running these conversations every Thursday lunchtime. Thank you again, Sarah.
No worries, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much.